Dizzy Dreamer ASMR. Good evening, my Dizzy Dreamers. Welcome back to my ASMR channel. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day, evening, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I'm having a great day. I'm feeling very cozy today. It's raining outside. I kind of had the day to myself to do some computer work today, and I've been sipping on a tea, and I just had a yummy little snack, so I feel very cozy today. And so I thought that tonight I would do my top 10 Halloween movies. I'll be talking about them, just rambling a little bit, probably giving a synopsis for a few of them. Because it has been a while since I've watched some of these, so gotta familiarize myself with them again. So I have 5 horror movies, and then 5 kind of more family-friendly Halloween movies, like Disney Halloween movies. So I thought I'd start with the horror movies, my top 5 horror movies. And, well, they're not my top 5 horror movies, they're my top 5 Halloween horror movies. And then I would do my top 5 kind of more family-friendly movies after that. So I'll include a timestamp on the screen as to what time you can skip to. If you do not want to listen to me talk about horror movies, because I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody wants to relax and unwind and fall asleep to somebody whispering about horror movies. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. Okay, so my first favorite Halloween movie is, of course, Halloween. This movie was released in 1978, and it features Jamie Lee Curtis. I'll read the synopsis for this movie. I'm sure everybody's pretty much familiar with, if not this specific movie, then maybe this series itself. They were coming out with some really wild sequels for a while. There was one that was like Halloween H2O. I haven't watched that one, but this one specifically, the vibes are just like immaculate. Like, it's so Halloween because the story literally happens on Halloween. So I will read you the little synopsis without spoiling anything. By the way, if you hear any snorting or like snoring in the background, my kitten has just fallen asleep on my bed, so please forgive me for that. So the synopsis is: on a cold Halloween night in 1963, 6-year-old Michael Myers brutally murdered his 17-year-old sister Judith. He was sentenced and locked away for 15 years. But on October 30th, 1978, while being transferred for a court date, a 21-year-old Michael Myers steals a car and escapes Smith's Grove. He returns to his quiet hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, where he looks for his next victims. So yes, this is a series that obviously gave us the iconic watched this one, I definitely say there's nothing holding you back from watching it. It's not the scariest movie I've ever watched, but it's definitely like a nice classic horror movie, and it's scary and it has its moments. And personally, I'm not a fan of horror movies that genuinely make me terrified. I'm more a fan of horror movies that are, again, fun to watch and, creepy and spooky in that way, but, don't make me want to pee my pants. Disney World. It's really interesting that there's a movie based on the ride. You know, now Disney has 3 movies that are based on rides at Disney World or Disneyland or whatnot. So this is a hell of a movie. We had this on CD and we would play it over and over again, even when it wasn't Halloween. But watching it back, it really brings back like the nostalgic feeling, and it's a great way to reconnect with my childhood. So I definitely recommend watching this movie. It's definitely worth the watch. Okay, the next movie is Coraline, because what is a Disney Dreamer ASMR video without a mention of my favorite movie, Coraline? I have talked about this movie at length in various little facts videos that I've made, so I'll link those here if you guys are interested. But basically, this movie is just amazing. It's so very much the vibe for Halloween. It's spooky, it's creepy, it has a great story, it's claymation, the visuals are insane. I think the scariest part about this movie is Mr. Bobinski, but when he's in a rat form, where he's not even like a man, like there's a theory that rats actually ate him because he was made out of cheese, which is another theory that I should add to one of my videos, but I digress. It is 100% the vibe for Halloween, okay? You must watch this if you haven't watched it yet. I will continue to talk about this movie on this channel until everybody has watched it. My next favorite Halloween movie is Return to Halloweentown. So not Halloweentown 1, not Halloweentown 2, Calabar's Revenge. I think number 3 is Halloweentown High, not that one. I believe this is the 4th one, Return to Halloweentown. The plot for this movie is just, it tickles, you know, it scratches a little itch in my brain, you know, it tickles my brain. I love this movie. It's been a while since I've watched this, so I need to rewatch it, and I'll probably read you guys a synopsis right now, but it has a different girl playing Marnie, and that's the one downside to this movie. I really like the original actress that plays Marnie the witch, but the plot just makes up for it 100%. Marnie is actually played by Sarah Paxton, which I'm also a big fan of. So this is what the synopsis says. Return to Halloweentown, although it was filmed in 2006, very interesting, is the 4th installment of the Halloweentown film series. In this Disney Channel original movie, Marnie Piper, which is of course now played by Sarah Paxton, receives a full scholarship to attend Witch University in Halloweentown. Despite the prestigious nature of the school, Marnie quickly learns that magic is forbidden on campus, and there's more to the university than meets the eye. As Marnie navigates her life at school, she discovers that the university holds dark secrets tied to her family's legacy. The sinister Dominion wants to use Marnie's magical powers to control Halloweentown, and it's up to her, along with her brother Dylan, to stop them from unleashing evil. So yes, I think I'm just a sucker for anything academia themed. Really, I love any movie that takes place on a university campus, because I find the environment and the setting just so cozy. Nevertheless, this is a really fun movie, and I'm definitely going to watch this year. Okay, the final family-friendly Halloween movie that I watch all the time is Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. So this movie I am obsessed with. This is another one I had on DVD when I was little. It was released in 2004, and I was a Scooby-Doo girly growing up. I loved everything, and I mean everything Scooby-Doo. I obsessed with Scooby-Doo. Obsessed. And this movie, we watched this one again, because we had the DVD over and over and over again, and it was so good. The animation still holds up, the plot line still holds up, the characters, the costuming, the settings, like this, the imagery, everything is amazing in sequel